He's the best show in town.
Spider-Man's rogues gallery has been nearly as vibrant and vile as Batman's. I mean, this guy has to fight beings like the Green Goblin, Venom, Kraven, Doc Ock, just to name a few. And yet, there's a plethora of great but obscure comic book villains that Spidey has fought. It seems that the upcoming Spider-Noir show from Amazon is fixing that issue. In the recently released trailer, we get to see a number of these villains in all their evil and messed up glory. But not only that, the trailer also sheds some light on some of the good guys, including Nicolas Cage's Spider-Noir, and in this video, that's exactly what we're gonna discuss. Every hero and villain we spotted in Spider-Noir, the official color trailer. Let's begin, shall we?
Got me growing 6 packs.
Nicolas Cage as Spider-Noir. Spider-Noir in the new MGM Plus and Prime Video series is gonna be far from the usual bright, quippy Spider-Man you and I know, which is what the appeal for Spider-Noir basically is. Played by Nicolas Cage, this version is from the 1930s New York, where the streets are full of dames, average Joes, and every possible kind of small-time crook you can think of. And as you may already know, this Spidey is not Peter Parker. His name here is Ben Reilly, a worn-down private investigator who used to protect New York as its only superhero. But when we meet him in Spider-Noir, the man has given up his costume. In fact, it's been a while since he did that, which means that apart from plenty of questions people like us have, one question that sticks out like a sore thumb is what happened to this guy? The idea for Spider-Man Noir was introduced in Spider-Man Noir #1, cover dated February 2009. Back then, Marvel was experimenting with the Noir universe, aka Earth 90214, which was basically a rough version of an alternate 1930s New York that was built around the Great Depression. The original Noir Spider-Man was Peter Parker, and he was pushed into his path after Goblin killed Uncle Ben. A lead took Peter to Rooney Import's warehouse, a place full of illegal and exotic goods, where a strange spider bit him and gave him what the comics called the Curse of Power. In the aftermath of the bite, Peter got all of our friendly neighborhood superheroes' powers, like enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, agility, durability, wall crawling, webbing from his wrists, and also the usual Spidey sense. As opposed to the skin-tight uniform, this 30s Spider-Man would wear a fedora, trench coat, and goggles, while also carrying firearms. And I'm sure you understand by now that the whole thing had a very pulp crime vibe to it. Now, the curious bit is that Ben Reilly is not usually the Spider-Man of the Noir world. In the comics, Ben has a totally different Spider-Man lore. Like, he's a clone of Peter Parker and was created by an extremely creepy stalker who was obsessed with Gwen Stacy. After his supposed death, he lived in exile and chose the name Ben Reilly as a tribute to Uncle Ben and Aunt May, whose maiden name was Reilly. He later became the Scarlet Spider and even served as Spider-Man when Peter Parker walked away for a bit to sort out his personal life. But Spider-Noir shows that Ben Reilly is a hard-edged detective known as the Spider, and I guess this was needed because the story needs a rougher, more adult Spider-Man than Peter Parker usually allows. The series may also have to explain why this Noir version uses the name Ben Reilly, because the name carries a very different meaning in the comics. With Nicolas Cage's history with superhero roles such as Ghost Rider, I'm intrigued to see what he brings to the table as an adult, darker Spidey, and I'm just hoping the series doesn't mess it up.
What happened to your face?
I walked into a door.
Jun Li as Cat Hardy. In the original Spider-Man Noir series, Felicia owns the Black Cat, described as the hottest speakeasy in town, but then she doesn't have any major role in the 4-issue comic. She's just one of the many characters who help in furthering the story. However, in the series, Jun Li's Cat Hardy is a femme fatale who's also a nightclub singer, and much like the comic book version, even this woman has a lot of connections with the New York underworld and the Mafia. Spider-Noir is heavily altering the Spider-Man Noir comic lore, and keeping that in mind, I think we should expect many more changes in all the characters when compared to their comic book counterparts. The bigger question, of course, is whether Cat Hardy becomes Black Cat. Now, if you think about it, Black Cat has a wafer-thin live-action history. If Cat Hardy is meant to be this universe's Felicia Hardy, then this would effectively be only the second live-action take out of that corner of Black Cat lore after Felicity Jones in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But it would be a mistake if Amazon chose not to give Cat Hardy the Black Cat uniform. As I mentioned earlier in the comics, Felicia Hardy owns the Black Cat nightclub and was once involved with reporter Benjamin Urich. She becomes fascinated by Peter Parker, learns that he's Spider-Man, and helps him at times. But her abusive lover, Crime Master, discovers this bond and scars scars her face. After that, she continues to aid Spider-Man, but not as herself. She takes the persona of a vigilante and goes by the name White Widow. Now, this means that in this show, Cat Hardy may become Black Cat, White Widow, or she may become neither. She may just remain the club singer and a romantic interest for Spidey, albeit someone who knows how to kick ass when necessary. It turns out that while writing Jun Li's character, writers looked at femme fatales like Rita Hayworth and Kim Basinger for inspiration, while her bond with Ben Reilly is inspired by the relationship and marriage between Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. All this basically means that the series wants to live and breathe in the black and white era of Hollywood, which probably suits a Spider story where black and white matter a lot. Oh, and did you know that you can watch these series in both color and black and white formats? Andrew Lewis Caldwell as Dirk Layden Megawatt. Irrespective of how big a comic fan you are, knowing who Dirk Layden or Megawatt was before Spider-Noir came into the picture is by and large improbable. You see, Andrew Lewis Caldwell's character of Megawatt has appeared in only one comic issue. Despite that, Amazon chose to give Megawatt his first screen appearance ever. For a villain who only had one Marvel comic issue to his name, that's a pretty big promotion. At first, many assumed Caldwell was meant to be a new version of Electro, which is what anyone would think, given Electro appeared in a Spider-Man movie, and characters that Jamie Foxx played tend to stick in public memory. So it was no surprise that people connected him with Jamie Foxx's role in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home. But this ain't Max Dillon, and it does not look like the show is simply using Electro under a different name. This is Dirk Layden, a very obscure comic book villain, and definitely not one of the usual suspects. In the comics, Megawatt appears in Spider-Man Unlimited Volume 1, Number 2, published in 1993. Dirk Layden used to be a former Australian convict and an actor whose career, well, let's just say it didn't go all too well. Later on, he crosses paths with Jonas Harrow, a scientist known for transforming criminals into supervillains through experiments. This is how Dirk gains the power to absorb, hold, and fire electricity at will. The trailer also gives him enough screen time for us to see the things he can do. What makes him fun for this series is the 1930s showbiz angle. I'm not entirely sure where this man's allegiances will lie, but given his comic book background as a former convict with electricity-based powers, he's probably not being positioned as a clean-cut good guy. But yeah, let's just wait and see what happens. Brendan Gleeson as Silvermane. Brendan Gleeson's Silvermane seems to be to Spider-Noir what Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is to Daredevil. You see, these two villains did not need any otherworldly or cosmic powers to wreak havoc or further their evil plans. Silvermane is a man who has been shaped by crime, age, and a lot of ego. Plus, he's someone who does not and will not accept defeat. In the show, he appears to be one of the central villains, an Irish mob boss with a shared past with Ben Reilly. Furthermore, multiple people want him dead, which tells you about the kind of life the man has lived. He also seems to be mentally unstable, but that doesn't mean he's careless or takes unnecessary risks. And Ben Reilly would do well to fear a madman who has survived this long. In the comics, Silvermane is Silvio Manfredi, a professional criminal from Corleone, Sicily, and his nickname comes from his near white hair. He started as a racketeer in the Maggia, but then built his own crime family and became a powerful Maggia Don. His first major Spider-Man arc from 1969 was built around an ancient clay tablet that he believed could grant immortality. He forces Dr. Kirk Connors, better known as the Lizard, to decode it and create a potion. But of course, the plan backfires. Instead of eternal youth, Silvermane de-ages far too much and seemingly fades from existence. But he returns, only to be defeated by the combined might of Daredevil, Nick Fury, and S.H.I.E.L.D. Later, he tries to unite New York's gangs under his rule, only for the Green Goblin and Spider-Man to complicate things for him. Eventually, Silvermane's body is cybernetically rebuilt, turning him into one of Spider-Man's strangest crime boss threats. Now, Mr. Gleeson is a veteran actor and knows how to handle his role, and he has some of the wackiest roles to his credit. For instance, Alistair Mad Eye Moody from the Harry Potter movies. Jack Huston as the Sandman. Jack Huston's Flint Marko, better known to Marvel fans as Sandman, is probably the most familiar name that's gonna appear in Spider-Noir. After all, this is a character you and I know from Spider-Man 3, where Thomas Hayden Church played him as an extremely unfortunate man and father. Likewise, he's not the Machiavellian villain that most people are accustomed to. And I don't know about the father angle yet, but Jack Huston's Sandman is also a tragic figure, and he's someone whose dark past appears to be tied to the First World War. The trailer hints that he may have some personal connection to Cat Hardy, though the exact nature of that bond hasn't been confirmed yet. Interestingly enough, Spider-Noir may not use Sandman's famous comic book power in a manner that's known to us. Flint is more like hired muscle in the upcoming TV show, and we didn't even see his whole body transform into sand, just his hands in the trailer. Official descriptions already suggest that Sandman is slowly being killed by his own powers, so the show may be treating his abilities less like pure spectacle and more like a curse. In fact, some of the powers of the characters may be altered or even toned down done in Spider-Noir, so as to make them worthy opponents for Spider-Man who doesn't have much technology at his disposal, like, say, Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. But whatever the case may be, Sandman has always been an interesting character, and it looks like in Spider-Noir his own powers are killing him. We don't yet know what's up with that, but we'll find out soon enough. Lamorne Morris as Robbie Robertson. Lamorne Morris is going to be playing Robbie Robertson, who's basically Ben's friend. Ben is cynical, bruised by his past, and not exactly Mr. Sunshine. Robbie, meanwhile, is a freelance journalist who chases riskier stories, because he wants his career to move forward. He believes luck is on his side, and I don't want to be the party pooper, but this kind of optimism in a noir story is either extremely brave, or a disaster waiting to happen. In the comics, Robbie Robertson was one of the first black characters in comics to have a serious role instead of just being there for the sake of comic relief. At the Daily Bugle, he usually serves as a senior editor and one of J. Jonah Jameson's closest friends and confidants. Additionally, he's often the one sane adult in the room when Jameson launches another anti-Spider-Man crusade for no good reason whatsoever. So basically, while Jameson may fume with anger and hate, Robbie tends to be fair, thoughtful, and far more supportive, even when it comes to Peter Parker and the Bugle staff. The character gained even more depth in the 1980s when his past with Tombstone came to light. In Spider-Man the Animated Series, Robbie's past with Lonnie Lincoln becomes a major emotional thread, with Tombstone using that history against him. Years later, when he joined the Daily Bugle, his past caught up to him through his son Randy, who had become involved with the gang that was actually being led by Lonnie, now known as Tombstone. With Spider-Man's help, Robbie saved Randy and helped put Tombstone behind bars. And guess what? Tombstone is also going to appear in Spider-Noir. Abraham Popoola as Lonnie Lincoln, Tombstone. Abraham Popoola's Tombstone in Spider-Noir is one more sign that Marvel's lower-tier crime bosses are gonna get the limelight. Spider-Man has always had a pretty scary rogues gallery. He's got people like Green Goblin, Kraven, and Dr. Octopus, and oddballs like Gibbon and Kangaroo. Then there are aliens like Venom. Usually the big names eat first, and everyone else waits for scraps. But now Tombstone seems to be having a proper moment. And yeah, good for him. The man has waited since 1988. Tombstone first appeared in Web of Spider-Man number 36 in 1988, created by Jerry Conway and Alex Saviuk. His real name is Lonnie Lincoln, and as I mentioned, his past is connected to Robbie Robertson from the Daily Bugle. But no point getting into that story again, right? But yeah, for years he mostly found himself in the C-list of villains, even though the Spectacular Spider-Man gave him a bigger role as the series' Kingpin-style crime boss, with Keith David as his voice. He also gained fresh attention in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, where Eugene Bird voiced a version of Lonnie as a talented good kid who befriends Peter Parker before gang pressure and chemical exposure push him toward his darker path. Now, with Spider-Noir and ongoing reports around Tombstone's future in Spider-Man media, the character clearly feels more visible than ever. And yeah, he may not be as fearsome as most of Spidey's villains, but he totally has the potential of giving Ben a run for his money. Spider Hybrid Man-Spider. The recently released trailer has this blink and you miss it kind of scene where you see this man with a head that's half human and half spider with multiple eyes. My guess is that this could be connected to Cage's Ben Reilly, but the trailer does not confirm that yet. It could very well be a dream sequence if you ask me. And while we're not sure about that, what we do know from said shot is that the series seems to be leaning into some serious body horror elements. It's very much possible that Ben is not only fighting mobsters in alleys and under construction buildings, he's also fighting whatever resides under his skin. And then the trailer gives us that quick frame of what looks like a spider-like transformation. You can totally see the extra eyes, the extra spider-like legs, and the whole thing feels like a spider version of Cronenberg's The Fly. Albeit the spider hybrid is not as grotesque as The Fly or other horror monsters like The Thing, or the long one from Slither. And yet this is totally uncharted territory for a Spider-Man installment. Now if this really is Man-Spider or something connected to Spider-Man's more monstrous mutation lore, then it would likely count as the concept's first major live-action appearance. Peter Parker has become Man-Spider more than once, usually when his two lives fracture beyond repair or when a villain mutates him. For instance, in the Neogenic Nightmare arc from the 1990s, Peter's powers fail him and he grows these 4 extra limbs. Following this, his mutation gets further worse and he becomes Man-Spider. And things would have turned deadly for him had it not been for the likes of the Punisher, Kraven, and Dr. Kirk Connors, who came to his aid. Maybe Ben Reilly would also turn into this monstrous form of Spider-Man, but would it be out of desperation to win, or would it be because he can't control himself? What do you think? Other characters we should talk about. Now, apart from these men and women, I also want to mention a few other characters whose names have been confirmed and may play important roles. For instance, we got Lucas Haas, who would be playing the right-hand man or subordinate of Silvermane. Then there's Jack Mickelson as James Jimmy Addison, who seems to have some sort of pyrokinetic skills. Because his powers are fire-based, some fans wonder if he's connected to Molten Man, but that hasn't been confirmed. Next up, we've got Karen Rodriguez as Janet. She's basically Reilly's secretary and a fellow investigator. She's someone who can be hard on Ben, but that's only because she means well for him and wants what's best for him. So yeah, that's all in this one, guys. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Those 2 clicks from you help us tremendously in bringing you more of these awesome videos. Stay safe and have a good one.